This is Meg Backus.
This is Tom Goki.
Meg is a public librarian.
Tom is a visual artist.
And together we've been co-teaching the Innovation in Public Libraries class.
One of the things that we've focused on in this class is what we consider to be the next great disruptive technology, 3D printing in FabLabs.
This technology really is going to change everything. It will be as big of a change as the internet.
To a large degree, the internet democratized information.
3D printing will democratize production. If you've never heard of 3D printing before, it might sound like science fiction. In fact, science fiction is one of the best ways to understand just how revolutionary 3D printing will be. Do you remember the replicator from Star Trek?
Talk. Give me a martini straight up with 2 olives for the vitamins. I might just get to like this place.
Yeah, I might too. And we aren't there yet, but already people are doing some pretty weird things with 3D printing.
It's called a bioprinter, but instead of ink, this printer uses human cells to create 3D tissue structures in any design. The cells are laid out precisely, incubated and nourished, allowing them to assemble themselves into fully formed, functional tissue.
Some of these bioprinters are just modified inkjet printers like this one, which can print out human skin, or in this case, a human heart. All they had to do was switch out the ink cartridges with cartridges that contain protein solutions. But let's back up. What exactly is 3D printing and how does it work?
We print documents and photos from our computers daily. Most of us in the developed world effectively run a home printing press and a home photographic lab, courtesy of this technology. Suppose you could plug a 3D printer into your computer. This 3D printer makes solid, strong plastic goods from designs that you've created yourself or that you have downloaded from the web. You could make lots of useful stuff that, at the moment, you have to buy. In effect, you would be running your own factory alongside your printing press and your photographic lab.
So just try to imagine what this technology implies. What we're talking about here is the democratization of the means of production. Imagine a Gandhian spinning program where your spinning wheel could make more than just textiles, it could make anything. This will make the Industrial Revolution look like small potatoes by comparison. In my view, some of the most interesting economic theory that's going on right now is a kind of speculative economics, what is sometimes called post-scarcity economics, and attempts to think through some of these potentially liberating consequences.
If I had one of these machines at home, you could email me this bike.
My sister actually was emailed this bicycle in Sydney and she's riding one around.
You're kidding?
No, seriously.
Isn't that incredible? So wait a minute, so that means that if I order a bike from a company someday, it won't come in a truck. It'll come, everybody will have one of these machines, and a lot of what we order, lamps, furniture, bicycles, will get emailed to us. We'll have it a few seconds later.
The only thing wrong in what you said is it's not when you order the bicycle, it's when you design the bicycle. When you design the bicycle.
Right now, the best 3D printer is the MakerBot, and it is awesome. It was designed by a group of hackers in a hackerspace. It's all open source, and it only costs about $1,000. But it's important to remember that the 3D printers that we have today are still fairly primitive. In a lot of ways, they're comparable to early PCs. Remember these? And the rapid advance in computers over the last 30 years can give us an analogy for how rapidly 3D printing will advance. So for example, right now, a MakerBot can print in multiple materials like ABS plastic and frosting and silicone, but it can only print in one material at a time, and you have to buy that material and feed it to the machine. But we're not going to have to do that for very long, and this is a little bit hard to wrap your head around, but you can sort of think of your own body as a 3D printer. So we feed it, food, we breathe, we drink water, and it takes that material and it rearranges it. It digests it and it turns it into fingernails and your teeth and your brain. And what we're starting to be able to do now in the laboratory is to control that process digitally. That guy that Alan Alda was talking to is named Neil Gershenfeld, and he's the director for the Center for Bits and Atoms at MIT. He wrote this great book, Fab, The Coming Revolution on Your Desktop from Personal Computers to Personal Fabrication. So we're talking about being able to translate between bits of information like ones and zeros and physical material, atoms. So one day in the not too distant future, you'll be able to feed a 3D printer any material, your garbage even, and it will sort of digitally digest it or digitally recycle it. And it will sort that material into basically the periodic table of elements. And then you'll have a cartridge for each of the stable elements on the periodic table and draw from that to assemble whatever it is that you've designed. What we're really talking about is a form of digital alchemy. Here's Brie Pettis, one of the inventors of the MakerBot.
There's going to be this time in the future where we think back and we think, you know, that was a time before I had a 3D printer on my desktop. You remember having to go to the store? Yeah, back in those days. I love knowing that that future is tangible now. It's not just a dream. That just gets me really excited.
Then what will happen to us? There's no trace of my money. My office is gone. What will I do? How will I live?
This is the 24th century. Material needs no longer exist.
Then what's the challenge?
The challenge, Mr. Offenhaus, is to improve yourself, to enrich yourself. Enjoy it.
Yes, yes, that's exactly right. The only thing that's wrong about that is that this is going to happen in the 21st century. One of the things that Meg and I talked about in our class was the artist Joseph Beuys, who famously claimed that everyone is an artist.
Meine Arbeit erscheint der Mensch als Künstler, als Schöpfer.
The idea is that our society itself is plastic, and that in a truly free society, in a true democracy, each of us will be able to creatively shape the world we live in. Society itself will be one giant artwork that we all collectively produce.
Sondern ich bezeichne auch eine Krankenschwester als Künstlerin. Oder selbstverständlich ein Arzt oder ein Lehrer. Auch einen Studenten, das heißt ein sich entwickelnder junger Mensch, der muss sich ja sogar selbst entwickeln und selbst überhaupt aufbauen. Also die Wesensbeschreibung des Menschen, da sind wir ja schon, ist der Künstler.
And that's how we see the role of public libraries. Public libraries have always been democracy engines. They're places where people go to inform themselves and then form their own lives. They're places where people learn how to hack the social codes they live in.
In this How to Make Anything project, it's not just that students learn to make a bicycle, they learn to make their bicycle. Every bicycle is different, and part of expressing yourself in the bicycle you want is what this is all about.
This is an exciting idea because as we're talking, I just thought of two things I want to make.
This technology will turn the entire world into one giant public library. In fact, this library already exists. It's called Thingiverse.
The universe of things!
People are uploading all kinds of designs to Thingiverse, everything from dragon heads to gearboxes. In fact, somebody is in the process of creating Babbage's difference engine and uploading the whole thing to Thingiverse. We can simply go download each of the parts. I'll download this part right here. It's that simple. If I had a 3D printer, I'd be able to print this out and assemble it, and then I would have my very own difference engine. In our class, one of the things that we've been talking about is putting 3D printers, FabLabs, and hackerspaces in public libraries. We've been thinking along these lines for several years now, and we're glad that we aren't the only ones to see the revolutionary potential here. A few weeks before our class ended, Philip Tyrone posted an article on Make, questioning if the time has come to retool public libraries as hackerspaces and FabLabs. It generated a lot of attention and debate among librarians. The main point of our Innovation in Public Libraries class is not just to think about this kind of stuff or talk about this kind of stuff, it's to actually do it, and that's where our students come in.
My name is Lauren Britton Smedley, and I'm a graduate student at Syracuse University, and I also work here at the Fayetteville Free Library, and our proposal is to put a Fab Lab here at the library.
We really believe that the Fayetteville Free Library is the perfect place for a project like this. It's the perfect first home for a public library Fab Lab. It has a consistent history of being innovative and not afraid to take risks. And the leadership here with Sue Considine and all of the staff is incredibly strong, and they're very passionate about library services and moving forward with those services.
Plus, they've got the perfect building for it. I mean, this is just amazing.
There's something that you should know about the Fayetteville Free Library. The building that it's in used to be the old Stickley factory. People used to make stuff here. Most of the factory has been renovated into the library, but the East Wing is still a raw space. We think that it would be the perfect place to make a public Fab Lab with a MakerBot so that people can once again make things here. Part of this project is a response to the current economic downturn.
When we started selling them, we really thought like, okay, this is going to be, a way for America to get back into industry, back into manufacturing, and really bring it to the living rooms of people. And we found it makes a community of people because they share it with their friends, they make it with their friends, they make things for their friends, and next thing you know, this idea of being able to make things yourself and be able to put it together yourself is seeding itself all over the world.